Arizona football holds a full practice Friday night under the lights and full pads, and there was a lot to take away from that.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. Check it out. All kinds of good stuff at FanDuel.com. You know your money's good, and you know this is a great time to bet on sports. So, again, check it out, FanDuel.com. All right, now, Arizona football Friday night had a practice and under the lights with everybody being able to come out there and check it out. And there was a lot to take away, obviously, from that. The first one that I think that you really got to look at is the quarterback spot. Noah Fifita looks sharp. Noah Fifita is ready to rock and roll. I don't think that there's really any doubt about Noah Fifita and what he can do. I think the question is, where is that backup? Because, again, anytime, and we've talked about this, but anytime you've got a quarterback now, I think that it's fair to say that you're probably not going to win a game. But Noah Fifita is that dude. Noah Fifita, there is a massive, massive drop-off, though. If you're looking at Garcia, or if you're looking at DeMonte, you're looking at Braden Dorman, whoever that is, that backup quarterback competition is probably going to be in play until the very end of camp. But Noah looks good. Noah looks sharp. And I think what a lot of people saw there, what was cool to see, is that Noah looked very comfortable there. Again, it's a new offense. It's a new offensive coordinator. He's Dino Babers doing some different things, but Noah's got a pretty good grasp of the offense, and there's a lot of different players there that are going to be able to help him out, and we're going to get to some of those players. But Noah Fifita should have a monster season. Again, I'm not really breaking any news to anybody. Anybody that watched Noah Fifita last year, you know that he's a different player entirely. And you know that he's a player that is going to probably put up very prodigious numbers. Now, somebody that really continues to stand out, and we're going to continue to talk about him, is Kean Burnett. Listen, when Kean Burnett came here, he was one of the more highly regarded players in recent memory to come to the U of A. He was a kid that was committed to USC. Father Big Chester obviously played in the NFL, was a very good linebacker here at the U of A, and Kean Burnett looked very much the part of an NFL player, but you've got to remember too, in high school, he did not have a position coach. And so he was always going to be a little bit raw, but he's not raw anymore. At 6'5", 245 pounds, he's put on a lot of muscle, and he looks incredibly good out there. He looks like an NFL tight end right now. Now, listen, the tight end position for Arizona is absolutely loaded. There's going to be a lot of different players that are going to be able to move around, that this staff is going to be able to move around, that are going to be able to do different things. But Kean Burnett is the one player where you're like, all right, there's some real potential there for him to make his mark and to be a high NFL draft pick. Kean, the only thing that's kind of a bummer is that he's a junior. He should probably be a sophomore because he didn't really play a ton his first couple years. Not really sure why Jed Fish did not redshirt him, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, Burnett is going to be a massive part of what Noah Fifita wants to do. And, with those Servite kids, I think that Kean was kind of the forgotten one in all of that, because you had a Jacob Manu, obviously, and Noah Fifita, Teteroa McMillan. But Kean Burnett is showing why he was so highly thought of coming out of high school. And I think that you're going to see a monster season out of him. And I think you're going to see a nice little connection. And by monster season, I mean that, I could see him getting 6-7 touchdowns off 25 catches, because there's so many good tight ends on this roster. And that's going to be something that this staff, I think, is going to be able to continue to push forth, is that tight end position. Listen. Brent Brennan has talked about it from day one, that he is a big fan of the tight end. And coming here, you brought some dudes with you, but at the same time, you got some leftover talent as well. It's going to be fun to see how all of this does play out. But it's going to be interesting to see. Now, also on the offensive side, again, broken record stuff. Jeremiah Patterson. Again, you watch Jeremiah Patterson for 5 seconds, and you can tell that maybe he's not Jacob Cowing, but he's going to be an instant impact contributor, and he's going to be very, very difficult to be able to keep off the field. I don't see him being kept off the field. As a matter of fact, I would be stunned if he is not at some point pushes his way into the starting lineup. He's dynamic. He's quick twitch. He's got burst. There's just a lot to like about him. He's also going to be a factor in the return game. The coaching staff clearly knew what they were doing when they were looking at him, because this is not a two-star player. This is somebody that probably should have been able to go to his choice of schools on the West Coast. For Arizona's sake, though, you're definitely glad you got him. There's nobody else really like him from a receiver perspective on this roster. And again, that's something I think you're going to be pretty excited about if you're a U of A fan, because Jacob Cowing, as great as T-Mac was last year, Jacob Cowing, you could make the case, was just as important from the run after the catch, the quick twitch, his ability to be able to get into the end zone. And I think if you're Arizona, that Jeremiah Patterson is going to be able to do some of that for you. Now, the other thing, too, obviously, Leif Magnuson's out. Leif could be out for quite a while. But listen, I mean, again, great kid, great family. Wish nothing but the best there. But with like an Alexander Deuce, they brought in the Deuce boost, and he has been much, much better at guard. Listen, it's probably going to be Shanko, or it's probably going to be Baker, or excuse me, not Baker, from San Jose State. But I would go with Deuce. I think he's got a higher potential. I think he's got just got the ability to impact the game more. I would love to see Deuce in there at one of those guard spots. Big Rhino obviously has been kind of a revelation there at one of the tackle spots. But I mean, again, you watch this team for a few minutes and you can tell that the offense is going to be really, really good. There's really no reason for me that the offense should not be absolutely fantastic. Honestly, it is it's got pretty much all the pieces. Again, line you could maybe make some questions about, but the running back game, we're going to get to that in just a second. The tight ends, the wide receivers, everybody is kind of on the same page, and like I said, it's just a dynamic unit that should be one of the best offenses in the country. And then a running back, Rayshon Speedy Luke, was running with the first team for quite a bit of time. We talked about it before. Is Speedy going to redshirt? What is he going to do? Well, I doubt he's going to redshirt. I think he's going to force his way onto the field. I think that so many have, kind of quibbled about is why was he not redshirted at some point earlier to be able to get 15 carries or whatever the case may be. But this coaching staff clearly has a plan for Speedy, and a big part of that plan is off screens, draws, and, kick returns. We've talked about it before, but my thing is bare minimum, he needs to touch the ball 10 times per game, because I think if he touches the ball 10 times per game, he's going to have some electric plays. He is somebody that is obviously totally different than Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and Quali Conley. And he brings, like I said, kind of a next level explosion to the game that I don't know that anybody else on that roster at this point has. So that's kind of where I'm excited to see exactly where that does play out. But the running back unit is, if anybody was out there, they could tell you immediately the running back unit is strong. The running back unit is going to be incredibly solid for the Wildcats, as is the entire offense. T-Mac obviously is starting to go through drills. He's been doing stuff on the side, but T-Mac's itching closer. Again, you still got 3 weeks before that first game. I expect T-Mac to be ready to go. And I don't think that there's really much concern about him being able to do that. But like I said, this is a top 10 to 15 bare minimum offensive unit in the entire country, and there's really no excuse for it not to be. Now, the defense and special teams has definitely shown some very, very interesting aspects, which we're going to talk about. But first, eBay Motors, my friends, check it out. eBay Motors, all kinds of really good stuff. Here's the deal with eBay Motors. You're probably tired about taking your car to the dealership or whatever, and you're probably getting screwed, but you don't really know exactly what they're doing to you or what they're doing to try to keep you from getting the car or the parts that you need. eBay Motors says, listen, come to us, get the part and then take it to somebody that you trust. There's no bamboozling. There's none of that. eBay Motors has you covered. Millions of parts for your MVP. Again, win every time with parts that fit your ride. The great thing about eBay Motors, like I said, is that you can cut out the middleman. Everybody wants to cut out the middleman if possible. I want to cut out the middleman. You want to cut out the middleman. Check it out. eBay Motors. They got you covered. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's get to the defensive side. Owen Goss. Owen Goss, again, this is a broken record, but Owen Goss is fantastic. He has been everywhere in camp, and you saw that carry over into the full pad scrimmage. He's going to be in the box. He's going to be in the back end. I don't think he's going to start, but it's going to be next to impossible to keep him off the field. He's that dude. He's that good. And I think what's exciting about him too is that he just wants to play football. There's no other BS that comes with him. He wants to play football, and that's what he wants to do. And I could see him having games where even though he doesn't start, he has 11, 12 tackles, 10, 11 tackles, something like that. Dwayne Aquina obviously wants guys. Dwayne Aquina has made no bones about it that he wants to have the best players on the field. Owen Goss is one of those players. He is one of your best players, and he is just physical. He is around the ball. He's got a little bit of a Jared Tevis type feel to him. And Jared Tevis is the kind of player that you win football games with. Again, I don't think Goss is going to start because I think there's just too much talent in front of him, but I think he is going to be on the field a ton. You saw, if you were out at practice, you saw why he's going to be out on the field because, again, he can do a lot of really good things. And he's just impactful. He's instinctive. You watch him and the game just feels like it's slow for him. Like, everything there's nothing that he doesn't really comprehend. There's nothing where it's difficult for him to get it. That was a great, great find by this coaching staff. And again, I'm going to keep using Spears' term. I love the Martell Irby comparison where, not really big enough to be a linebacker, probably doesn't quite fit into the safety room, but you've just got to have him out on the field. I mean, he's absolutely fantastic. Now, the defensive line, one thing that you can clearly tell from last year's D-line is it's not as big as last year's. Last year's D-line was massive. By Arizona standards, big. Now, with this starting unit, though, they're good. Listen, I think Trey Smith's going to play in the NFL. I think when you watch him, you can see that there is every bit the semblance of somebody that could be a third-round pick. He's active. He gets after the quarterback. And I think, honestly, there is a Taylor Upshaw. If you were to tell me that he can be Taylor Upshaw, I don't see why he can't be Taylor Upshaw because he probably is a little bit more naturally gifted. He's a little bit quicker as well. He is just like I said, he's an animal at that. He's an animal at that defensive end spot. And I know people are wondering, they're like, at San Jose State, he wasn't able, can he really transfer that over there? Yes, I believe he can transfer that over here. And not only can he transfer this over there, I also believe that he can also just kind of do the thing where you're like, all right, we need you to be able to get downfield. We need you to be able to get to the quarterback. We need you to be able to do a lot of different things, and he's going to do that. He and Ty love both of those players at those spots. Both of them, I think, are going to be monsters for the U of A. Both are going to be really, really good. And if you were to tell me that I put their over/under, barring injury, at 13 sacks combined. I know that that's a lot of expectations, but they're that good. You just can't get injured. Obviously, behind them, you're trying to figure out what to do. You've got to chase Kennedy. I don't know that that's really the answer. He's just so small. We'll find out. Now, the defensive line, the defensive tackles looked really, really good. This was a very good practice for Kevon Darton. And listen, he's probably not going to start because Chuba and Isaiah Johnson, I think, pretty much have those spots locked up. But like we keep talking about with Darton, this is a guy that was a guy that made a lot of impactful plays at Syracuse in the past. And maybe he's just somebody that when the lights come on, he's ready to go. I mean, there are players like that. They just need, you give them, for whatever reason. They just need the lights to come on, and maybe Darton's that, because again, you don't have, 5 sacks, 8.5 tackles for loss, 40 plus tackles if you can't play in some manner. And again, it's not like he was doing this in, some super small, he did this in the ACC. So it was a legitimate conference that he did it in. So we'll find out with that, but he is like I said, the D tackles I'm fine with. Wish they had a little bit more at the D line or at the D ends, but it is what it is. Then Jacob Manu is a monster. If there are 5 better linebackers in the entire country than him, I would love to see them, because I don't believe there are. You watch Manu and he's instinctive. He is strong. Listen, he's never going to have an ideal football player build, but this is the year that I think you're going to see him probably be an All-American. He's just everywhere. He's great. And he's just kind of the leader of that defense. He's got very much the vibe people look to him. And I think that he's definitely embraced that role. Just an awesome, awesome football player. And somebody that I think is, like Noah, even though he doesn't have great size, I think he's going to force his way onto an NFL roster just by his instincts, just by the way that he can play football. Just again, just a fantastic player, and pretty much one of the players on this team that I think you can make the case is just pretty much irreplaceable. There's nobody else like him. There's nobody else that can do what he does. And that's just kind of the way it is. Now, linebackers look solid to me. Outside of Jacob Manu, I think you were asking, with Camu, and you were looking at Tay Brown, who could be that person? Both of them, I think, can. Also, another guy that we need to talk a little bit about, Sterling Lane. Listen, this was an ex-4-star kid out of Oaks Christian. I think a lot of people are wondering, is he going to be good enough? Yeah, because he's never really made an impact here. So far, so good. Sterling Lane has been a problem in a good way in camp. And I think if you're the coaching staff, you're hoping this can continue, because he's shown an ability to get after the quarterback. And not only has he shown an ability to get after the quarterback, he's also shown that he's kind of got that relentless quick twitch to him as well. So again, I'm excited to see what he can do. And he is like I said, he's a player that, I think he doesn't have a great body type per se, but you're also hoping that he can just kind of be a football player, but he's going to get a chance. He's stuck through, he's done a lot of different stuff. He's going to get that chance. And I think it's exciting as an Arizona fan to see what he can do with that, because he's somebody that, especially somebody like me, I think kind of just, kind of forgot about, because generally guys like that, if you don't contribute early on, people kind of forget about you, and you're not necessarily at a glamour position like a Kean Burnett. Even though tight end's not necessarily a glamour position, but it's impossible to watch a passing offense and not say, man, I bet Kean could be pretty good there. So again, big shout out to Sterling Lane. He has been very, very good. And then, like I said, I'm a broken record here with the secondary, but the secondary is fantastic. I think you saw that again. I think that there's going to be a lot of shutdown opportunities here. And I think when it just comes down to it, I think this defense is going to be very good. I think that Dwayne Akina is the exact right guy at the exact right time for this defense. I also think too that he's invigorated. He knows he's got a good roster, and I think you're going to see them. Take some chances. And Genesis Smith, another one. If you were to tell me that on the defense that there's another first-round pick eventually, I think it would probably be Genesis Smith. He's huge. He gets in the box. He can make, like I said, he can make a lot of plays. And I think more so than anything, he's kind of got an infectious personality to him as well. Just a really, really good football player, and obviously somebody that I think this Arizona coaching staff was very happy that they could hold on to, because Jed Fish certainly wanted to get him up to smelly, rainy Seattle, and that did not occur. So overall, like I said, offense, good to go. Defense, I think, is going to be a lot better than most people are expecting. And we're going to talk a little bit about the special teams here in a second. But first, FanDuel. All right, now FanDuel. Football is here, my friends. We got preseason football already starting. And when preseason football is already starting, you know that we are very, very close to being to football season. FanDuel says, come here and hang out with us. Bet on some games. And your money's good. Again, that's the other thing. With FanDuel.com, your money's good. You can bet before a game. You can bet during a game. You can bet futures. And It's enjoyable, prop bets, and you can bet it with your friends. You can do all kinds of different stuff. So again, check it out, FanDuel.com. And like I said, football here, basketball is going to be right around the corner. The dog days of summer are over. This is exciting. This is a very, very good time. Hop in with FanDuel. Again, check it out, FanDuel.com. You know your money's good, and you will thank me later for this. Check it out, FanDuel.com. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now, let's talk a little bit about Mr. Tyler Loop. Tyler Loop, I think, is one of the more underrated kickers in the entire country. On my all Big 12 team, I put him as the kicker. There were some people that did not put him there. They, I believe, are wrong. And I think it's fair to say that he is, he kicked a 45-yarder that would have been good from 57. Same thing that would have been good from 60 plus. He is a nice little ace in the hole. I think with a lot of times with Tyler Loop, being that who he took over for, you just kind of thought, well, okay, well, he's good for field goal, or he's good for short field goals and extra points, but he's just a really, really good football player. And I think that's the big part, the big takeaway in all of this. He's a weapon. He's a weapon that this team's going to have, and he's a weapon that this team is going to be able to utilize as well. I think he's one of the best kickers in the country. And I think Brent Brennan is, especially if these games are close, I think you feel pretty good about having Mr. Tyler Loop in there for a variety of reasons, mainly because you know that he's got the leg. He's got kind of an NFL leg. I mean, you look at it, Lucas Havrasek had an NFL leg, but he just never had the accuracy. When you watch Tyler Loop, the accuracy is there. I think he's going to be a real weapon. Now, again, the punting, you're still trying to figure that one out. I would still imagine it's going to be Lackland Bruce. We'll find out. But then, you got Jeremiah Patterson, who's going to be returning punts. You got Rayshon Speedy Luke, who's most likely going to be returning kicks. So I look for the special teams unit to be fine. I really do. I think that this is going to be a good squad all the way around. And honestly, like I said, I believe this is a team that is going to win the Big 12. I think that their talent, I think their upside is immense. And not only is it immense, I think that you're looking at a team, you're looking at a group of players that know that their time is now. And when I say the time is now, that means that you're probably not going to have a lot of teams or times where you're like, okay, we're going to have these type of players. You got to be able to capitalize. You got to be able to capitalize now. And I'm excited to see exactly what's going to happen. Now, tomorrow, we're going to continue to talk about football, obviously. We're also going to talk a little bit of Arizona basketball. You got some movement on Koa Pete. With Koa Pete, obviously somebody that's been a priority recruit for the University of Arizona since Tommy Lloyd arrived. I think Arizona's doing pretty well with him. We'll talk some McKenna Alozzi. We'll talk some Mikkel Brown, and then we'll kind of go from there. But there's a lot to like, though, about where Arizona is on football and basketball, and I'm excited to see where that is, especially, too, with Koa Pete. He would be the biggest NIL player to ever come to the U of A. And listen, a guy like Caleb Love, as good as he is, Koa Pete in his 1 year would be making a lot more money. So that's something where it's going to be interesting to watch. But like I said, this is a good Arizona football team. Make it out to practice if you can. They deserve your support. And I think Brent Brennan is the right man at the right time for this job, for this program. And it's going to be fun to watch how this all plays out. But as always, very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Again, football is here. Basketball is right around the corner. The dog days of summer are over. So again, bear down, back the A, and as always, thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day.